Okay, we've had a quick bite to eat. We've got a damn nice coffee. And it's time to hit the road again. Stretches to the last day.
James Faulkner took 3 wickets, while Steve Smith was named man of the match after top scoring with 105 from 93 balls.
I'm just happy where everything's at the moment. I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and it's working at the moment, and hopefully continues to do that on Sunday.
Sunday's match will be Australia's 7th World Cup final and New Zealand's first, but the Black Caps are confident after beating Australia in their pool match in Auckland last month.
Former England captain Michael Vaughan is backing Brendan McCullum and his aggressive captaincy New Zealand to their first ever World Cup final victory. Black Caps have already beaten Australia early in the tournament. Great clash in New Zealand. McCullum has the highest strike rate of any batsman at 191.81. Believes the Kiwis will cause an upset.
Australia will be clear favourites. I think everyone will be using the card that New Zealand have been playing on smaller grounds. The first time they've had to play in Australia throughout the World Cup. But I just like the way that McCullum leads the team. I think the way that he has kind of rejuvenated New Zealand cricket. Yes, he's got good players, but it's his positive impact, the way that he captains, his aggressive fields that he sets, the way that he goes and leads from the front with the bat and plays this risky round the cricket. But I think risk goes a long way in terms of you winning a World Cup. It's the way that you have to play to try and match a team like Australia.
that he was, you know, treading towards Parliament House. How would you describe his comfort levels and rapport with the people down home?
Oh, look, they were excellent. I mean, they really were excellent. And, for example, one of the secretaries of the local branch, the ALP, wrote to me after this meeting, asked me to help with something. And the final paragraph went on to contact the Abode Premiere Pro CC. And I couldn't tell you that when I was
And then representations on him to get things done. Did that continue until the latter years?
oh, that absolutely. I mean, it's the story of the TV now, Black Mount, Canberra, and putting it on Mount Douglas or Hamilton. Because up until then, you know, the people in that area, when they got the intelligence up to go to the snow, the pretty far concept on it. And because of what that television now place there, they started to get rid of it. They let go down. There was a bit of controversy in Canberra about that, but it was laughing a lot for it because they had decent TVs.
How could let either of you go without some perspective also on the family? Wife Tammy is such a support, obviously, for Malcolm Fraser through almost 60 years. What do we know about the family and their disposition on this sad day?
Well, I'd have to say that Tammy was absolutely fantastic. And when the campaign was on, she was always there with Malcolm, and I saw her on a number of occasions smoothed over a misunderstanding. It was very effective. So the person walked out of that room quite happy. And so, yes, it was terrific. Yes, of course, it's a big blow whenever it happens. And I know the family will be quite devastated. But they do, I think, work a very strong family, and they will help each other get through this.
That's David Hawker, the man who succeeded Malcolm Fraser as the member for Wannon, Victoria's Western District, and Dan Tehan, who's the current one, speaking to the ABC's Greg Jenner. Well, ABC reporter Jean Edwards is outside the Scots Church in Melbourne, and she joins me now. Jean, good morning. Do we know who'll be taking part in the service today?
Yes, it's quite a family affair here because this is a funeral service rather than a memorial service. So there's going to be musical items by Mrs. Fraser's granddaughter Hester, and the family reflections from Hugh Fraser and Phoebe, his children. There's quite a few friends and family who are already in the church at present, and also a lot of dignitaries who are arriving and politicians. Former Prime Ministers Julia Gillard and Paul Keating are here, along with Malcolm Turnbull and Julie Bishop, and there's a couple of state premiers, Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, and Jay Whitwell from South Australia, are already here, and the former Governor General Quincy Bryce. Now, the corner of Collins and Russell Street here in Melbourne, where the churches has been blocked off for a whole strip, and there's a large group of people waiting outside the church, and also a large contingent from the Vietnamese community, with a couple of banners saying farewell to our champion of humanity. So a lot of people interested in hearing on some of the reflections on Malcolm Fraser's life.
Indeed, and I understand it's quite crowded for members of the public because the Scots Church is one of the smallest churches in Melbourne's CBD, from memory.
Yes, that's right. There's about 700 people who can fit into the Scots Church, and so they've opened up St Michael's across the road for any overflow from the public, and there'll be a few hundred more who can fit in there, and obviously it's been broadcast on the ABC, so there are plenty of opportunities for people to listen in and to think about Malcolm Fraser's contribution to public life.
What the fuck is wrong? Oh, son of a bitch, fucking sell up that bitch.
Jean Edwards, thank you very much for the update.
We're going to have to go back onto the main
Jean
road.
Edwards is outside Malcolm Fraser's funeral service at the Scots Church in Melbourne, and it's about to start in the next few minutes.
This is ABC News Radio. News as it develops.
We should also mention that the New South Wales election is very much to the fore, and tomorrow night, of course, ABC News Radio will be bringing you all the latest.
Democracy as it happens. We've seen governments change in the last two state elections in Australia. What will happen in New South Wales this weekend? Tomorrow night from 6 p.m. Eastern, ABC News Radio will bring you coverage of the New South Wales election on the hour and half hour. We'll have a full wrap of the election count after 9, and we'll bring you the concession and victory speeches as they occur. New South Wales votes. Join me, Sandy Aloisi, tomorrow night from 6 p.m. Eastern, here on ABC News Radio. Democracy
Stello navigation device.
There. Let's go to Paul out from the Australian Traffic Network. Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. 2 incidents still standing out in Brisbane. Villemere versus Willemane has slowed you down on Villemere Road between Muller and Milton Roads, and the pedestrian between Struck and Lawson. Expect delays while the investigation is underway at Lawson Pocket Road near Gifty Road. Head towards Sydney. Maryland's clearing out Woodville Road, Maryland's Road. A big truck that broke down has just been towed clear. At Liverpool, police on point duty, Moore Street, Bathurst Street in the CBD, in Liverpool CBD due to an accident. And we have a broken down truck underground, M5 East, the main tunnel is citybound on the exit 5, so just before you see the light, and is causing mayhem for those trying to get towards Mascot and the airport. All okay if you're driving through Canberra, so I look towards Melbourne. At Narry Warren, Berwick Road, Wellington Road, a crash, at Burwood as well, Bakersfield Street, Warrigal Road. Kingsville, another crash, Somerville Road, west of Williamstown Road. And with today's date, Kingsville and Scott Church, there's going to be delays around Holland Street, Russell Street, so please watch out for pedestrians as well in particular. Hobart's looking good. I look towards Adelaide, I'm not seeing any dramas. For you, I look across towards Perth. Now that all still being cleared from Hayes Street into Causeway, but 3-year problem. Wellington Cross at Milligan, the lights are not working in Perth. South Street westbound at the Banana Freeway, it looks like we've got a broken down vehicle in the left lane. And also a breakdown if you're trying to get from Town Street southbound onto the Mitchell Freeway, left lane is partially closed. Paul Latter, or ABC News Radio Traffic in half an hour.
Thank you very much, Paul. Mark Tamhane with you here on ABC News Radio, where Australian Eastern Daylight Time is 3:30. In South Australia, it's 11 o'clock. In Queensland, it's 10:30. In the Northern Territory, it's 10 o'clock. And in Western Australia, good morning, it's 8:30.
ABC News Radio.
French prosecutors say the co-pilot of a Germanwings jetliner that crashed with 150 people on board appears to have deliberately flown the plane into a mountainside. As BBC's Anna Holligan reports, Germans are reacting with shock and dismay.
We watched some of the relatives departing from Dusseldorf this morning to head over to Marseille and then onto the crash site, and they looked bewildered. Some of them were wiping their eyes with tissues, others were trying to hide their faces. As far as what the authorities have said, the prosecutor earlier in Marseille said that Andreas Lubitz wasn't on any terror list, and then in reference to questions about suicide, he said it's not suicide when you take, or he didn't consider it to be suicide, when you take more than 100 lives with you.
Mourners are gathering at Scott's Church in Melbourne to farewell the former Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser. Mr Fraser died last week at the age of 84 after a brief illness. The Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, is attending the funeral service along with the former Prime Ministers Julia Gillard, John Howard and Paul Keating. Mr Fraser was the Prime Minister from 1975 to 1983. Care Australia's Colin Galbraith says Mr Fraser leaves a great legacy.
His understanding of the obligation of Australians as people of a very wealthy and privileged country to serve those who are the poorest and who are in crisis throughout the world.
Two other former Prime Ministers, Kevin Rudd and Bob Hawke, can't attend that funeral service because they're currently in China. Opponents of the government's data retention scheme say concerns remain over how the new laws will be implemented. James Bennett reports from Parliament House in Canberra.
With the support of the opposition, the legislation forcing telcos to keep their customers' phone and internet records last night passed the Senate. The government hasn't revealed how much that will cost.